It's noon here in Ventnor City, New Jersey, and our nation's capital, Washington, D.C., and this is CarEdge Live for Wednesday, November 12th, with your hosts, me, Ray, here, sitting, freezing my ass off in Ventnor City, and Zach, doing some work at Mazda, it appears. How are you today, handsome? And so good to see you again.
Good to be back, folks. Happy Wednesday, November 12th to you. Today's show brought to you by CarEdge.com. Car sites show you fake prices. We'll get you the real one. For a limited time, folks, you can take advantage of our car buying service for $150 off, or CarEdge Pro, the tools our concierge team uses to get you the best deals, 15% off. For those of you that are unfamiliar, CarEdge is a car buying service that takes care of the research, dealer outreach, and even negotiation. We learn what matters to you, contact dealers, compare real offers, and help you get the best deal without the stress. Love helping the hundreds of thousands of people we get to work with every single month. Now, Dad, the big story this morning, the used car market is screwed. Now, two different data sets we're going to look at. First things first, the latest and greatest data from Black Book, which tells the story of what's happening in the wholesale used car market. Wholesale meaning where dealers procure their inventory. They buy it for some of their inventory. Yep, non-trade-in inventory. We are seeing the steepest week-over-week declines in used vehicle values that we've seen in years. We are seeing a precipitous drop off. That's what this line is showing you in used car values at the dealer auction. So we're going to talk about that. And we have an entire update from the folks over at Edmunds, a Q3 Insights report from the folks over at Edmunds showing that used cars are sitting on dealer lots longer than they have been in recent history. Two really important data pieces we're going to look at today. But let's just start here, Dad. The Black Book data. You have depreciation week over week of over 1%. You sold cars for 40 plus years. Help our audience, help our community understand why that means the used car market is screwed. Cars don't typically depreciate that much, do they?
Typically, no. Typically, they depreciate, 1.5 to maybe 2% in a month, not over 1% in a week. If that continues, and last week was similar to this week as well, because last week I think it was over 1%. That would be 4% a month, and that's huge. Now, why is that a big deal? Well, that means the value of the used car inventory that is presently sitting on dealer lots is losing value more quickly. What they bought 6 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, 8 weeks ago, they paid way more for then than what they could get for it if they needed to wholesale it today. So if there is something that they spent, say, $10,000 on 4 weeks ago, and then they spent a few $100s in reconditioning and getting it ready for the lot, let's say they spent $800, and so they have $10,800 in it, and it's lost 2% of its value just in the past 2 weeks. So you're looking at that $10,000 car is now a $9,800 or $9,600 car, but you also have that other $800 that you spent. Suddenly you have somewhere between a $1,200 and $1,000 loss in value of that vehicle, which means that their inventory on the lot is underwater, which is not where you want your inventory to be unless you're on the Titanic.
I think you're onto something there, Pops. And that's what we're seeing is those vehicles are losing their value precipitously, while at the same time, Edmunds shows it's sitting for longer. Hey, one comment before we get too much further into today's show. We have allowed now, folks, that you can watch on mobile or on desktop. So there are 2 streams over on the CarEdge Live channel, one for mobile with the little phone icon and one that does not have it. So for those of you that are having an experience that you do not like today, please just go to the channel and click on the other stream. Again, there are 2 different formats for today's show. So sorry for any of the confusion there. I'm seeing some chats coming through. So I just want to call that out. But Dad,
Yes.
Cars losing value more quickly, 4% a month is unprecedented.
Yeah.
And sitting for longer, that's a recipe for disaster if I'm a used car dealer, because it means the value of my inventory is going down, but there are fewer people buying them. We'll do a live example here on the CarEdge car search in just a few minutes, but that's a recipe for disaster. And that's actually a good thing for potential shoppers.
Ultimately, it should be a good thing for potential shoppers, but more so for potential shoppers that don't have a trade-in.
Yeah, let's talk
Um,
about that. What is the impact on trade-in valuations here? It means they're probably not going up, right?
I can assure you they're going down. If the wholesale values at the auctions are dropping at the rates that they've been dropping at, then the appraised values that dealerships will hit the vehicles at will be dropping even faster than the declines we've seen at the auction. If they're down 2.5% in the last 2 weeks, that would indicate to me that most used car managers I know, uh, they would be looking at their numbers and they'd be probably lowering their appraisals by 5 or 10%, because they are going to be anticipating the amount of money that they have to spend to recondition it, the fact that it's taking longer to turn vehicles. So they're looking at it as, well, I have to be prepared to hope that I'm still even, hopefully not underwater, 30 days from now, if it's going to take me somewhere between 30 and 40 days to sell the vehicle. So used car managers are adjusting what they're willing to pay for cars now, and they're adjusting the numbers lower much more rapidly than the wholesale declines we've seen.
So there's two big stories here. One is, if you're in the market to buy a used car, dealers are screwed at the moment. They do not have the off ramp that we've always described it as, which is I can just go sell this used car at an inflated value to another dealer at the auction. That's what dealers have been doing for the past few years, because they could just sell the vehicle for a heck of a lot of money at the wholesale dealer auctions. All the data we have shows that at the wholesale level, these dealers are getting pounded in terms of valuations, dropping over 1% each week for the past 2 weeks. That is unprecedented. The other story here would then be, what is that my vehicle actually worth? For those of you that do not already have your vehicle in the CarEdge garage, you should. You're able to track vehicle values back there at caredge.com. Just click on your little icon up here in the top right and add your vehicle to the garage. That vehicle you might consider selling, Dad, to your point, is going down in value. Let's come back here, though, and let's talk a little bit about some of the time to turn data that Edmunds has that factors into this. And then let's go to the CarEdge search and let's find some vehicles. Let's identify some vehicles and see if we can see dealers lowering prices or any of the games that they might be playing to try and move this inventory. The average transaction price for 3-year-old vehicles, Dad, was up to $31,067 in Q3 of 2025, up 5% year over year. A little bit of this conversation can be around, are newer used cars a better value than new cars, or do you take the new one instead? We continue to think that new cars are a better value than newer used cars, even as we're starting to see some depreciation. And this data from Edmunds backs that up a little bit, because newer used cars, 3-year-old used cars, are up 5% year over year in terms of their price. But interestingly, Dad, maybe that trend will start to change, because price increases have come with a noticeable uptick in lot times, rising from 37 days on the lot in Q3 of 2024 to 41 days in Q3 of 2025, the slowest third quarter pace since 2017. So in almost the past decade, Dad,
Yes.
these used cars are selling the slowest that they ever have. That is a huge storyline for would-be shoppers.
Well, it's a huge storyline, and I think there are any number of reasons for it. And one of the main reasons for it is that wages haven't kept up with inflation over many decades. And as rent has gone up, as groceries have gone up, as maintenance for automobiles has gone up, as insurance, both for homes and autos and everything else, has continued to go up, more and more people are stretched, well, probably in this case beyond their means than we've seen in quite some time. Student loans are expected to be repaid again. There have been a tremendous number of job losses and just, well, government furloughs, where we've had federal government employees who haven't been paid for a month and a half. Well, that impacts everything. And so it's making it more difficult to have more people in the market to buy cars when there are actually fewer people who can actually afford them.
So again, the implication is then as a dealer, I have carrying cost and that
Yes.
inventory is sitting for longer. So we understand how we got into the position that we're in. Let's talk a little bit, Dad, about the implication for dealers. Explain that carrying cost phenomena and explain why that gives leverage to customers. As the time to sell or as the days on lot increases, if I'm a used car shopper in today's market, why do I have more leverage today than I did dating back all the way to 2017? Help us understand that phenomena.
Well, you can, with the data that is readily available for people, especially the data that we make readily available for people, it is relatively easy for a potential buyer to be in the dealership and say, listen, I understand that wholesale values are dropping precipitously. I also understand that it is taking longer for you to sell the cars that you have, which would seem to indicate to me that the value of the cars that you are selling are inflated in comparison to what it would take to replace them. And I understand that it costs you money to have the vehicle sit in the lot because you didn't pay cash for this, you're financing it yourself. So, with all these things stacked against the dealer, I believe an informed customer can make a good case for why the dealer should be willing to, I don't know, work on the price of the vehicle that the customer's looking at.
Double down, Dad, on floor plan. Like take us step by step here. I'm a used car dealer.
Yes.
I do not pay cash for my inventory. The amount of time it's taking me to turn over and sell my inventory is going up. Why am I more willing? I'm going to pull up this comment from Steven here. These used Silverado truck prices here in North Carolina may be dropping, but by a few hundred here and there, not by thousands. People are still snatching up the good ones for more than they should pay, but at least dropping by hundreds, maybe not thousands. Why, as a dealer, Dad, am I starting to discount my inventory? Help us understand that. Really,
Well,
really explain it.
The difference between when a dealership um, buys their new car inventory and used car inventory, both are typically floor planned. So what does that mean? It means that there's a line of credit that the dealership is using to pay for their inventory, both new and used. Now, the difference on the new car side is the manufacturers will cover the cost of that interest that is accruing on that borrowed money for 15 days, 30 days, 45 days, depending on the manufacturer. On the used car side of the interest is accruing from the moment that you utilize that line of credit. So every day that car sits there, interest charges are building up. Well, the longer the car sits, the more interest the dealer has to pay to keep that vehicle on the lot. So he's sitting on inventory that is presently underwater because what he paid for it is significantly less than what he could replace it for today. He has the expense of reconditioning and advertising to sell the vehicle. Plus, he has the expense of daily interest accruing on that car. So every day, his position is getting worse, not better. Um, if you realize that the value of the commodity you're selling is less today and will be even less tomorrow, then rather than face tomorrow, try and figure out a way to sell it today before the value continues to decline because your costs have gone up in it.
Now, let's look at some examples of this. I went over to the CarEdge car search, folks, and I did a few things. First things first, we're searching for used vehicles. I want to look at price histories for used vehicles. So you can see that over here on the left, condition used. The next thing I did, Dad, is I scrolled down. Let me do this really quickly. I scrolled down. I went days on market. I only want to look at vehicles that are 90 to 200 days, meaning dealers have had these vehicles advertised for sale on their website for 90 to 200 days. And again, a friendly reminder, if you are just tuning in here right now and the orientation looks a little bit off, there are two streams on today's channel. There's the used car market is screwed with a phone emoji, and the used car market is screwed without the phone emoji. If you are on your laptop, if you're on your desktop, click on the one without the phone emoji. If you're on your phone, use the one with the phone emoji. That's why you're getting the different orientation. So I've got 90 to 200 days on the market, Dad, and I've gone ahead and I've clicked on a few of these vehicles. Let's look at this one right here. A 2022 Chevrolet Traverse LS. This dealership, Dad, has been sitting on this vehicle for 96 days. Now, a few things I'm noticing right off the bat here. 96 days. The other thing I'm noticing is the stock number ends in the letter A. That tells me that this was a trade-in, most likely, that this dealership traded in this vehicle from a customer. If I scroll down a little bit further here, I get the price history. I'm going to orient this as a little bit of a list here. They listed this vehicle for sale back in August. You can see it right there, August 29th, with a $21,590 price point. Look at the current advertised price, $16,995. This is exactly what we anticipate seeing more and more of, because to your point earlier, Dad, the dealer's paying that floor plan cost. It's not getting cheaper for them to hold on to this vehicle. And again, they don't have the off ramp. They don't have the off switch, which is, okay, I'm just going to take it to the dealer auction and sell it for more money, because at the dealer auction week over week, prices are dropping by 1%. What a perfect example of why now is a buyer's market than more than ever before for the used car market.
And there was one other important piece of information at the top of that screen that you missed, which was the fact that it has 76,000 miles on it. Okay. So it's a high mileage car. The average miles driven were over 25,000 miles a year, when the average in the United States is a little under 15,000. So it has over 30,000 more miles on it than it should. It's been sitting. The cost of carrying that vehicle is continuing to climb. And my suspicion is that they are so significantly underwater on this vehicle, based on probably what you could buy its replacement for with the same type of miles. This dealer should be highly motivated to sell that vehicle. There is probably a major spiff or bonus for the sales staff at that dealership, so that whoever sells it might be guaranteed a $500 minimum commission, or maybe even $1,000 minimum commission. And so think about it. If let's say you're underwater on that vehicle, since you've had it for 90 days. Let's say you're underwater $1,500. Okay. And let's say you have to spend another $500 guarantee to sell it. Well, that's a $2,000 loss when everything is all said and done. The idea behind trading vehicles or buying vehicles is to turn around and turn a profit, not a $2,000 loss.
And Dad, think about it. If the prices go down another % next week at the auctions, it's just even more of a ramification for why I need to be more aggressive at my dealership to sell the vehicle. I just keep getting more underwater, which is typically what we talk about for customers.
Yes.
But you're talking about the dealership being underwater. It's the same thing. Yep.
Yes. This is, see, what most people don't realize is that dealers and customers are similar when it comes to values of their vehicles. If the wholesale auction prices go down dramatically, that negatively impacts the dealership, just like it negatively impacts a customer. Okay, just like it negatively impacts you as an individual. You are both facing the same dilemma. And the dilemma is that for an individual, the value of your vehicle has gone down. And for a dealership, the value of your entire inventory is dropping. It is one thing if you have one car and it's lost 3, 4, 5% over the past 4 or 5 weeks. It is an entirely different thing if you have $1 million worth of cars that have lost 3, 4, 5% over the last 3 or 4 weeks. That is a much more significant number. And can be very telling. I mean, I know of situations where used car managers have been fired. A new used car manager comes in, takes a look at the inventory that they have, and realizes that maybe the inventory they have is overvalued or overpaid for by 200, 300, $400,000. And as the new used car manager, you have to figure out how to get out from under that with the smallest loss you can imagine, managed, as opposed to the biggest loss that you can manage. So it's a tough situation for both customers and dealerships at the moment.
It really, really is. Here's another example I'll pull up on the screen. 2024 Mazda 3. So this is a relatively new used vehicle. Now, Dad, this dealership, I'll scroll down here, has had this vehicle for 125 days. Now, it has way fewer miles, 7,950 miles, but this is a used vehicle they've been trying to sell
Yes.
for over 4 months. And on the stock number here, there's no A at the end of it. So it leads me to think that it's not a trade-in. This is a vehicle that they most likely purchased from the auction, and now they're trying to retail and sell to a customer.
My suspicion with 7,950 miles on it would be that perhaps it's a retired service loaner.
That's also an option. Absolutely.
Yes.
Now,
Yes.
if I come down to the price history, Pops, we're going to view it in this little line. Let's go all the way back. I mean, here, we'll just start back in August, right there. Look at this price history. There was a period in time where newer used vehicles, dealers were trying to ultimately sell them for pretty much what the original MSRP was when it was brand new. Look at this price history chart. I mean, this is ridiculous. In just a few months, the price of this used vehicle has gone down by 30+%. I mean, this is astronomical in terms of how aggressive this dealer is trying to be to try and move these vehicles out.
Can I say one thing?
Please.
This is a prime example of how aggressive this dealer has been from day one. What do I mean by that? Well, on August 29th, when they were asking $37,960 for that car, that was probably so significantly overpriced for what it was, so that they were trying to be excessively greedy at the price point they were hoping to sell it for. And now they have had to have a come to Jesus moment where they go, okay, we have to get a tad bit more realistic if we hope to sell that vehicle. And you look at it and you go, well, there's been a 30% price decrease. And I look at it as, I don't know, they're suddenly trying to get in touch with reality, and it's probably still overpriced at $28,798.
For sure. And the trend is the trend, which is these dealers have more pressure on them. The used car market is screwing them when in the past it's actually been supporting them making more money. That's a perfect example of both probably greed on the front end, aka when they first listed it, but also the trend of used car prices are going down and it's having an impact. Now, Dad, let's come here to the chat. We had a contribution earlier in the show from our dear friend, Just a Cinnamon Bun. Love seeing Just a Cinnamon Bun. Hey, Zach, check your email, both CarEdge and Zach@Chefska.com emails. If you still want to learn how to drive a stick shift, by the way, I miss Pops' stories about when he was in the rubber vending machine business. Forgive me, Pops. Let's keep moving. We'll come back to the condom stories in about 5 minutes because
yes,
Igor here has a great comment that I really want to tie into the used car story, at least a little bit. Repos are growing too. The auction I was at today has 11 lanes, and today they had 5 fully for repossessed vehicles. Usually they're only using 3 for repos. That's a bad sign showing the poor economy. So we also know that there's an influx of inventory coming into the used car market as a result of more repossessed vehicles. I simply wanted to pull that up before we maybe go too far down the prophylactic lane.
I didn't know there was a prophylactic lane, but yes, truth be told, my father, my dear father, was originally a dentist, and he went from dentistry into the vending machine business, and primarily we vended prophylactics. So, as I like to say, my father went from capping teeth to capping other parts of the anatomy, but either way, he was always doing his best to bring a smile to somebody's face. Um, so, yeah, I spent my youth always being surrounded by condoms and other items that probably no 8, 10, 12, 13, 14-year-old boy should be familiar with, but well, I was.
Now, after a condom story comes the protection you need, which is the CarEdge car buying service. Check it out back at caredge.com/concierge. Currently $150 off for this for the limited time only. And the reason I bring it up in the context of today's show is a few things. One is you can start with a free consultation. So if you have not booked a free consultation with our team, please do it. Learn more if this is a good fit. And secondarily, Dad, because our concierge team, there are some experts on this team that specifically work on used vehicles. For example, I'm looking at Stuart here, or Josh. We'll click on Stuart for just a moment. The reason I'm clicking on Stuart is he's saved CarEdge customers over his 16 deals with us $48,400. Josh, for example, Dad, over his 98 deals, have helped CarEdge community members save a cumulative $405,000 from the first out the door price at a dealership to the last out the door price. Congratulations, Josh.
I'm
With a
not good at
specialty on used vehicles as well.
I'm not good at math, but that has to average out to a little over $4,000 savings per deal.
26 years of experience pays for itself. So that's fantastic. So anyway, I bring this up because there are folks on our team who specialize in used vehicles and would love to help you as the market continues to turn. One more comment here, Dad, from David. Should the price of insurance drop as car values decline? Sadly, we've seen insurance premiums go up more and more and more. We also have, I'll pull it up on the screen one more time, back at caredge.com, up in the top of our menu, an insurance tab where you can compare car insurance quotes and save. But unfortunately, Dad, even as used car values decline a little bit, we don't anticipate seeing, insurance premiums drop precipitously, do we?
No, and the reason for that is the cost of repairs and replacement parts has gone up. So even as the wholesale values of cars go down to a degree, if they were to be involved in accidents, the cost of those replacement parts have significantly increased. And I'm pretty sure that cost is what insurance companies are looking at when they come up with their premiums.
Yeah. So unfortunately, just because the used car values go down, I don't think we anticipate seeing insurance premiums go down at all. Like insurance prices are probably just going to keep ticking up. I feel like every 6 months, everyone should be shopping their car insurance because it's an opportunity to save potentially.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, Pops. Well, that's what I had for today's show. So again, if we can help you out with anything, caredge.com. I think the discussion today around what's going on in the used car market resonates really well with me. The story, the theme continues to be buyer's market for new vehicles and becoming a buyer's market for used vehicles as well. Go for it.
May we address one thing on the used car side of things?
Sure, go for it.
And that is there appears to be good values to be had on used EVs. There is a list of on that Edmunds study, a list of the fastest selling used cars. And if you go by that list, you will see that the best selling used cars that are selling the quickest are EVs, and that they are significantly more depreciated in values from when they were new than gas equivalents. So if you are a value conscious buyer and you want to be able to get the best value for your dollar right now, that would be in pre-owned EVs. That is where you can look to find the best value today on pre-owned cars. Now, here's the dilemma with that. Most places that you're going to be able to find those pre-owned cars, the dealership personnel probably have absolutely no clue as to anything about EVs and how they work. But if you can get around that, if you can find the expertise that's needed to make sure that the battery's in good condition and this and that, that could be the way to go, because A, it's less expensive than gas powered or diesel powered vehicles. B, they'll be less costly to fuel and less costly to maintain moving forward.
Love that, Dad. Thank you so much for bringing that up. And I
Yes.
guess it'd be remiss to not share why I wasn't here yesterday, Dad. I was driving back from Red River Gorge in Kentucky. So for anyone that's
Not
interested,
Red River Gorge.
yeah, so for anyone that's interested in rock climbing, what an incredible place to do it. I'll share just briefly here. I'll pull it up on the screen. This is the route I was working on yesterday, Dad. Feeling nice and strong. What do you think? What do you make of this, Pops?
I think you should have your head examined. But that's just me. After all, you are the CEO of a tech startup. So, I personally, I think bowling is a better option. But what the hell do I know?
All right, folks. We'll be back tomorrow with more CarEdge Live. Dad, enjoy the afternoon. Thanks as always. And folks, appreciate you tuning in. We'll see if the other format we keep doing this, the vertical and the landscape. Again, there's 2 options. So sorry for any headache we caused. See you tomorrow, Pops. Much love.
Yep. Love you too, handsome. Thank you, everybody, for being here. It's good to be back.